So Blade Runner 2049 is directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it is my most anticipated film of the year. And before I even got a chance to see the film, the reviews had been so great. And I went into this film with the highest level of expectation you could go for, because just look at the talent behind it. You know, you have Denis Villeneuve, one of the best directors, and I'll talk about him in just a bit, but you have Denis Villeneuve directing, Roger Deakins doing the cinematography, Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch doing the score that was left by Johan Johansson, written by Hampton Fancher and Michael Green, starring Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford. I mean, this is literally like the Hollywood all-star dream team. And after seeing this film, I can safely say that this is not only the best film of the year, or one of the best films of the decade, it is one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. Blade Runner 2049 is a genuine masterpiece. This film is just, it is as close to perfect as a film can get. I feel like I'm gonna get done for plagiarism here, because one of my favorite YouTubers, Chris Stuckman, who's like my favorite movie reviewer on YouTube, said in his review for Blade Runner 2049 that this is a film that makes people want to become filmmakers. This is a film that reminds you why film is so great and how it affects people. And you know, some people might just give up because they know that they'll never be able to make something as good as this. And in this decade, I've only had that thought about 4 or 5 times, I would say, when I saw Inception, Social Network, Whiplash, La La Land, Birdman, you know, some of the best films of the decade. Blade Runner, you can add it to that list now, because this is a film that reminds me, just like La La Land did last year. This is sort of my La La Land for this year. This is a film that reminded me why films is so important to me. Whenever I feel like I'm losing faith in sort of my love for movies, I'm just gonna watch Blade Runner 2049, and that faith will be restored, because this film is literally everything. Okay, let's talk about Denis Villeneuve as a director and his direction for this film. He is the best director working in Hollywood right now. He is just the director. I mean, say what you will about Nolan, Fincher, Tarantino, Scorsese, Spielberg, they don't release one film every single year since like 2013 that goes on like the top 10 best films of the year, like every year. Prisoners, Sicario, Enemy, Arrival, these are some of the best films of their years. Blade Runner 2049, it's the best film of the year. I can say it right now. Unless The Last Jedi is like the godfather of our generation, I doubt anything is going to be better than this. Denis Villeneuve literally directs the shit out of every single scene in this film. This is a guy that understands film. This is a guy that's passionate about film. This is a guy that, he's a legend. He's one of the greats. And I do think that Blade Runner 2049 is his best work. He really does get to show off all of his skills. And one of my biggest concerns going into this film was that maybe some of the action scenes weren't going to be that good, because, you know, Denis is more of a dramatic director, right? There are a couple of action moments in Sicario, you know, there are a couple of moments in Prisoners, but for the most part, this is a guy who's a lot more focused on drama, story, and characters. So I was kind of worried, because the trailers showed off a lot of action, and I was worried that, you know, he might not be able to deliver on that. I was wrong. The action scenes in this film, even though they are few, they are brilliant. They're so well directed, and it actually kind of reminds me of Sam Mendes and what he did with Skyfall, because up to that point he had been more of a dramatic director as well, and he just knocked it out of the park with Skyfall. Denis Villeneuve knocks it out of the park with Blade Runner. The action set pieces in this film are just incredible, and like I said earlier, Denis is a director who's a lot more focused on story and characters, and that is just so evident, because the main emphasis of the film are the characters, Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford. I'll get to them in just a bit, but this film never loses its way. At its heart, this film is a sci-fi film noir, just like Ridley Scott's original, and it never loses its focus. It never sort of goes off to become this big Hollywood blockbuster. Essentially, this film is a big budget art house film noir, and it's just, it's so good. It's perfect, and I can safely say that I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. This is a film that comes around like once in a lifetime or something. I don't know, like, it's just so unique and so different. And even though it is a sequel, it does such a great job of paying homage to, you know, the original, but at the same time, it is its own film. It isn't setting up 3 more movies, it is its own film, and I just love that. That's just something we rarely see nowadays. I also want to touch on some of the technical aspects of the film, mainly the cinematography by Roger Deakins. Roger Deakins is the god of cinematography. For those of you who don't know who he has worked on films such as, but not limited to, Prisoners, Sicario, No Country for Old Men, True Grit, Skyfall, Jarhead, and The Shawshank Redemption, just to name a few. And not gonna lie, I think that his work on Blade Runner 2049 is probably his best work. Either this or Skyfall, I would say. If he doesn't win Best Cinematography at the Oscars this year, the guy's been nominated 13 times. If he doesn't win, people are going to get angry, people are going to stop watching the Oscars, and something is wrong with the world, because the cinematography in Blade Runner 2049, it is godlike. Some of the stuff you see in this film, you can't even imagine. Like, Roger Deakins combined with Denis Villeneuve, their visual style together, it really is unlike anything you've ever seen, and I'm going to keep saying this. This film, it's just unlike anything you've ever seen. It's so unique, and it's so... just visually alone, this film is like the best of the year. If this film was completely silent and had no dialogue, it had no characters, and it was just visuals, it would still be my favourite film of the year. It's just... oh my god, it's so good. Now let's get into the score, which was started off by Johan Johansson. And I looked at the credits at the end of the film. I'm pretty sure he wasn't in the credits. And Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch took over. Hans Zimmer is my favourite composer, and it's brilliant. This is one of the best scores ever. And it really does such a great job of creating tension and sort of enhancing a scene, elevating a scene. It's just so good, all the technical aspects. The editing as well, so good. I think a lot of people, a lot of mainstream movie audiences are just going to say, this film's boring, this film's too long, it's slow, it's sluggish, it's shit. If you don't like it, fine, fair enough. I think you should question your taste in films, because Blade Runner 2049, it's okay, I can understand if you think it's a bit slow, but so was the first film. But I think that every single frame in this film is necessary, is vital to making this film what it is. And I've been talking for a while now, I haven't even got into the acting, so I'm going to get onto the acting. Ryan Gosling as Officer K, there are a lot of twists and turns regarding his character, but Ryan Gosling was so great. And one thing I feel like is quite common in a lot of Denis films is that his characters tend to be very subdued. The performances, they don't let out a lot of emotion, but you can see that there is a lot, you know, hidden deep beneath, and that's, again, very evident in this film, because Ryan Gosling, he is a very, very complex character, but on the surface, you know, he's a very quiet character, and he doesn't really give off much, but you can see that deep beneath, just like every character in this film, there's so much going on, there's so much complexity behind the characters, and that is due to the great writing, the great directing, but more importantly, the brilliant acting. Ryan Gosling gives one of his best performances. And Harrison Ford, there's one scene around the third act of the film Harrison Ford has with Jared Leto. It's the best acting I've ever seen from Harrison Ford. It's truly brilliant. It almost brought me to tears. I mean, it was just so good. Harrison Ford gives one of the best performances I've seen from him in decades. Jared Leto, just like in Suicide Squad, his screen time is minimal, but he's brilliant in all of his scenes. Ana de Armas, so good. Such an underrated actress, so good. Robin Wright, also brilliant. Batista, brilliant. And I have to give a special shout out to Sylvia Hoeks. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. I would say she gave one of the best performances in the film, one of the best performances of the year. Wouldn't be surprised if she gets nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She was just so great. I mean, the acting across the board is just brilliant. Like I said, I'm gonna say it again, this is as close to perfection as you can get. Blade Runner 2049 is an eye-gasm of a film, an ear-gasm of a film. It's one of the most well-directed films I've ever seen. If Denis doesn't get nominated this year, I will be very pissed. I think a lot of people will be very pissed as well. This is a film that reminded me why I love films. I feel truly proud and like honoured that I got to see this film in cinemas. And I'm going to see it again in IMAX, but I feel proud that I will be able to tell people 10, 20 years from now that I saw Blade Runner 2049 in cinemas. I'm going to give this film an extremely well-deserved A+. Guys, this is my favourite film of the year. Again, I doubt anything will be as good as this film. I love it so much. It is such an inspiring film to me. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you.